The Toyota Hilux is a vehicle that doesn't need an introduction. This Thai-built Uda was Australia's top-selling vehicle bar none for 7 consecutive years. But for the last 2 years, it has been pipped at the post by the locally developed but also Thai-made 4 Ranger. The current generation Hilux dates back to 2015, though it has received a few minor updates over the years. Its IMV ladder frame platform dates back all the way to 2004. However, one of the most interesting additions to the current Hilux range in recent years was a flagship GR Sport, which was first introduced in 2023. Developed by Toyota Australia designers and engineers, this new range-topping Uda was inspired by the Japanese carmaker's Dakar rally-winning Hilux race truck, but stopped short being a fully-fledged Hilux GR model to compete directly with the Ranger Raptor. Highlighting the upgrades over regular Hilux 4x4 dual-cab variants is extra power and torque from a venerable 2.8-liter 4-cylinder turbo diesel, a tweaked transmission to handle the extra oomph, a unique suspension setup, and unique GR Sport exterior and interior design cues. It's been a few years since this top-shelf Hilux Uda has been on sale now, and besides some very minor spec changes, it has stayed the same during that time. Is this still the best version of the current Hilux range? Read along to find out. How much does the Toyota Hilux cost? The Hilux GR Sport remains a flagship trim level of the popular Uda range, but despite its higher outputs, it misses out on the 48V mild hybrid V-active technology introduced in other Hilux variants last year, including the cheaper Rogue. What is the Toyota Hilux like on the inside? The Hilux GR Sport looks properly tough. Design is subjective, but it's arguably the best the current generation Hilux, or for that matter any Hilux, has ever looked on the outside, and that's thanks to Toyota's Australian design team. The theme continues inside. Like many utes, it's a fair hike into the cabin. Though thankfully there are chunky grab handles on the A-pillar and rock sliders on the side of the Uda to make hopping in a touch more graceful. Once you're in, you sit up high and have a commanding view of the road ahead. It rides 15 millimeters higher than other core Hilux 4x4 dual cab variants due to suspension upgrade, and this is noticeable from the seat of the pants. As standard, there are special-looking, heavily bolstered sport bucket seats upholstered in black leather and suede. There's even a GR insignia on the head restraint and red seat belts, both of which are fancy touches, especially in a Uda. Both the front seats are comfortable and offer enough support. Plus, the driver's seat has 8 ways of electric adjustment, including thigh support. This is great for those with longer legs, like myself. A strange omission is there's no lumbar adjustment. Though this was largely a non-issue, my back did start to ache during longer drives on bumpier roads. The front seats offer heating as standard, though this wasn't much use in the scorching Melbourne heat. And the button placement for it looks a lot like an afterthought, because it just fills in a blank button on the center console stack. Ahead of the driver is a typical Hilux steering wheel, but its leather wrapping makes it look and feel a touch more special. There's a 12 o'clock marker at the top of the wheel, adding to the sporty theme this Uda exudes. All the buttons on the steering wheel are logically placed, though interacting with them isn't the most rewarding, as they feel a bit squidgy and doughy. Unlike other Hilux variants, the GR Sport picks up paddle shifters behind the steering wheel, which can be handy if you want to take direct control over the transmission in scenarios like towing. Like every Hilux variant, the instrument cluster setup is basic and easy to understand, though it's dated compared to its rivals. There are 2 physical dials for the revs and speed, and a 4.2-inch digital information display between them. With the latter, you know you're driving the Hilux GR Sport because there's a GR logo that flashes up on startup. On the screen, there are a few informative pages you're able to cycle through, though there's only one that displays a proper digital speedometer readout. A number of pop-ups for the adaptive cruise control and diesel particulate filter, DPF. Burn-offs also block the display unless you clear them manually. Moving across, there's an archaic 8.0-inch touchscreen infotainment system that looks very old-school Toyota. Its resolution isn't segment-leading by any means, but thankfully it reacts to touch inputs rather well. The touchscreen infotainment system is nowhere near as polished and refined as newer Toyota multimedia systems, though it has a basic interface and is hard to get lost in. It's also nice to have physical shortcut buttons in an age where these are disappearing from many new cars. The Hilux still only has wired forms of both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto via a USB-A port. But the connection with my iPhone 15 Pro Max was rock solid, with no dropouts at all. There's also built-in satellite navigation, which is handy to have if you need to navigate and don't have phone service. It's an easy enough system to use, but I much prefer using Google Maps via smartphone mirroring for simplicity's sake. Under the infotainment system, I appreciate that Toyota has stuck with a proper climate control cluster that has physical dials and buttons. It's much more intuitive than prodding at a touchscreen, especially if you got gloves on. Although our tester wasn't fitted with it, the Hilux GR Sport now comes with a wireless phone charger. It's located at the front of the center console and does look a little tacked on. But thankfully in my previous experience, it charged my plus-size phone with no worries. Looking around the cabin, it's disappointing Toyota has stuck with the liberal use of the hard and scratchy plastics, especially in this top-spec model. There are few soft-touch surfaces apart from the armrest, which screams cost-cutting. Storage is okay, but not standout for segment. The cheap-feeling manual handbrake eats into the center armrest storage bin. There are adequately sized upper and lower glove boxes, 2 cup holders on the center console, and door pockets large enough for bottles and other knickknacks. I'm thankful Toyota still offers the 2 dashboard-mounted cup holders, as they can keep drinks both cool or warm, depending on what the climate control is set at. Hopping into the second row of the Hilux GR Sport is also a climb, but once again, big grab handles and the rock sliders make this journey easier. Once you're in the second row, it feels a little confined, even by dual cab UTA standards. At a leggy 182 centimeters, leg and toe room were tight behind my own driving position, though head and shoulder room were okay. There are roomier dual cab utes out there. While sat on an outboard second row seat, you do need to be mindful you don't hit your head on the grab handle that juts out from the headliner. I know this from experience. 2 up in the back is doable, especially for shorter adults or kids not in child seats, though pushing to 3 makes things squishy. Apprentices in the second row are treated to air vents in the back of the center console, 2 USB-C ports, as well as a fold-down armrest with cup holders. At the back, all Hilux pickup models now have a tailgate damper that makes opening and closing the tailgate immensely easier. I can't believe it has taken Toyota so long to include this as standard, as it's a very common aftermarket add-on. As standard, there's a tub liner, which is great if you frequently carry things in the tub, as you don't have to worry about scratching paint. There's also a cute GR logo on the right-hand side, letting everyone know you've got the GR Sport. Other than those things, tray amenities are slim besides some tie-down points. The last thing I'll mention is the Hilux GR Sport's tailgate is still not included in the central locking. Instead, you're required to lock it manually with a key. This is surprisingly pretty common for the segment. What's under the bonnet? Still a 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine, sigh. Compared to the other Hilux turbo diesel variants, however, the GR Sport's power and torque figures have been boosted by 15 kilowatts and 50 newton meters, thanks to ECU tuning, bringing outputs to 165 kilowatts and 550 newton meters. The 6-speed automatic transmission is also recalibrated to take advantage of the higher outputs. How does the Toyota Hilux drive? When starting up the Hilux GR Sport, you're greeted with a very familiar 4-cylinder turbo diesel sound. Its idle is gruff, and it's arguably one of the most agricultural-sounding diesels on sale. Setting off, the extra 15 kilowatts and 50 newton meters over the regular Hilux turbo diesel variants is instantly noticeable. It feels more willing to accelerate, pulling harder with fewer revs. In fact, this UTA is rather quick, but the engine still sounds clattery inside the cabin as you get higher in the rev range. You'll easily keep up with the traffic at the lights or pull ahead if you flex your right foot just a bit harder. Beyond the normal drive mode, there are power and eco drive modes. They change throttle calibration and how quickly the UTA accelerates. But for the majority of my testing, I stuck with the regular mode, as I found it was still plenty quick enough. In addition to the extra power, Toyota also tweaked the 6-speed automatic so it could handle the extra outputs. In practice, it more readily changes up and down gears, especially when you prod the throttle. This just makes the GR Sport feel so much more lively. Compared to the 6-speed automatic in regular Hilux variants, however, the gear changes can sometimes be a little clunkier or jerkier, but that never slows down progress. Like regular Hiluxes, the engine never revs all the way out to redline. Instead, it opts to shift up to the next gear at around 3,500 RPM, which makes sense because the peak power and torque figures are lower down in the rev range. Once you get up to speed, the transmission will choose the highest gear possible to keep the engine revs down, which makes things somewhat quieter in the cabin. You can still tell you're driving a 4-cylinder diesel. However, the Hilux still comes with a part-time 4-wheel drive system. So that means on sealed surfaces, the UTA can only be driven in 2-wheel drive, rear drive. This is still pretty common in the UTA segment, though more rivals are getting a full-time 4-wheel drive system that allows for the added security of 4WD on sealed surfaces. While the GR Sport isn't the only Hilux to gain wide wheel tracks, so does the Rogue. It has a special suspension package that includes KYB monotube shock absorbers. The combination of the wider track and unique dampers make this a surprisingly comfortable UTA to drive in an urban, everyday commute. It feels more planted, though you can still tell you're driving a body-on-frame vehicle with a leaf-sprung live rear axle as it gets the shimmies over bumps while turning. Because of this, the Hilux GR Sport isn't the most dynamic vehicle to drive around town. This is made worse by the fact it still has a hydraulic power-assisted steering system, which is incredibly firm during low-speed maneuvers. Many newer Utes now have electric power steering systems, which makes parking big Utes like this a lot easier. That said, there's no masking the overall heft of a 5.3-meter-long dual cab. Speaking of parking, there are front and rear parking sensors as standard, plus a surround view camera, which is horrendous quality. I expect much better camera quality in a vehicle that costs around $80,000. Getting out on the open road, the turbo diesel does have to rev a bit, making it sound raucous in the cabin. Once it's cruising along at highway speeds, however, the engine finds a nice groove. At 100 kilometers per hour, the revs sit around 1,500 RPM. And if you punch the throttle for an overtake, it'll happily drop a gear to gain speed. I like the fact the Hilux GR Sport has steering wheel paddle shifters because they allow you to take direct control over the gears. No other Hilux variant has these. They're particularly handy when towing a trailer. Having said that, this UTA already has smart engine braking. It knows when you're traveling down a steep hill and will drop a gear or two to slow the UTA. Sure, the revs sit an awkward 3,000 RPM or so, but it's a great peace of mind feature. On the freeway, this UTA makes a lot of noise. The main culprit seems to be the all-terrain tires, but there's also a fair bit of wind noise from around the side mirrors. It's surprising that Toyota hasn't managed to fix these issues given the current Hilux has been around in basically the same form for 10 years now. The high-speed ride is better than that of regular Hilux dual cabs, thanks again to the wider track width and unique suspension setup. However, it's still not perfect, with bumps frequently unsettling the car, making it feel lumpy in the cabin. Some weight in the tub will likely soften this feeling. While we didn't get a chance to take it off-road this time, the GR Sport builds on the already strong hill climbing and mud plugging capability of standard Hilux 4X4S. Indeed, we previously described it as ridiculously capable off-road, and in our launch review, we said you can feel what each of the wheels are doing, making it very confidence-inspiring on loose terrain. It's no Ranger Raptor when it comes to high-speed dune bashing, but very competitive with the likes of the Ranger Tremor, D-Max Blade, and Nissan Navara Warrior. On the safety front, there's adaptive cruise control that only works at high speeds. It disengages at lower speeds, requiring you to take control when you come to a complete stop. It's surprising Toyota hasn't introduced an adaptive cruise control system that works at all speeds, given pretty much all the competition has this now. Another safety feature that feels primitive when compared to what's offered in its rivals is the brake-based lane keep assist system. This is likely a result of the current Hilux dating back to 2015. In practice, it makes driving jarring because the vehicle feels unsettled when the brakes pulse. And given there's only brake-based lane keep assist, it's no surprise the Hilux doesn't come with any form of lane centering. The Hilux GR Sport does come with bright automatic LED headlights as standard. However, these are great if you frequently travel on rural roads where wildlife can jump out in front of you. Lastly, while there are automatic LED headlights, it's strange the entire Hilux still goes without rain-sensing windscreen wipers. This is such a commonplace feature now. Even before you consider this flagship vehicle costs $80,000. What do you get? The GR Sport remains a flagship of the current Hilux lineup in its twilight years, yet misses out on some standard equipment when compared to the cheaper Rogue. 2025 Toyota Hilux work-made equipment highlights: 8.0-inch touchscreen infotainment system, wired Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, 2-speaker sound system, adaptive cruise control, automatic headlights, air conditioning, power windows, cloth upholstery, vinyl floors, halogen headlights and daytime running lights, reversing camera, double cab UDA only, front and rear parking sensors, double cab UDA only, 16-inch wheels, 17-inch in double cab, 4x4 variants, SR ads, multi-terrain, select with 6 selectable modes, hill descent control, side steps, 17-inch alloy wheels, body color door handles, 4 or 6 speaker sound system, extra cab and double cab respectively, dual zone climate control, V-active only, auto up/down windows, V-active only, keyless entry and start, V-active only, carpet floor mats, V-active only, front air conditioned cooler box, SR5 ads, dark finish LED headlights, gloss black exterior mirrors and door handles, powder coated black sports bar, 18-inch alloy wheels, privacy glass, satellite navigation, DAB plus digital radio, rear air vents, premium shifter and steering wheel, wireless phone charger, 2 X-rear USB-C outlets, carpeted floors, Rogue ads, 9-speaker JBL sound system, motorized roller cover, central locking tailgate,